Ugh. Hello again. How's it go? Yes, the review's actually coming out on Sunday this week. I know, crazy, right? Anyway, go ahead and get that fixed. Okay. Hi. How's it going? Fun week again, right? October is just the gift that keeps on giving. So let's go ahead and kick it off, right? Hey, for those of you that watch these videos, again, this is my weekly review. I go through, I talk at least mention every game. Again, I try to watch as much football as I can. I will tell you this week, I was at a football game for my college. I was over at our stadium. I was actually working the game, doing some like security stuff. Yeah, I know. So I didn't watch a lot of the afternoon games or the first half of the second, like the late afternoon games. But I will tell you, I did go back. I watched highlights. I was up really late last night. In fact, I fell asleep on the couch watching highlights. But don't worry, woke up this morning, watched some more highlights, games I wanted to get to. And yeah, here ready to talk football for you guys. So this week, early week of football start, right? The game started all the way back on Tuesday. And my takeaway from that game, Louisiana is starting to look like the team that we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season. So Louisiana defensively only allowed 211 yards and forced 4 turnovers from Appalachian State. A nice win there for the Raging Cajuns, as they are starting to look like the team we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year. Right. Moving in the games now. On Thursday, we had Navy and Memphis. The thing I found interesting about this game was watching it. I was like, man, Memphis is not throwing the football a lot. 8 of 12 was Hennigan for 215 yards nonetheless, 2 touchdowns and 1 pick. And the interesting thing about that is I also, while I kept glancing at this game, because I was watching the game below it too, right? 2 games on at the same time. I was watching the game below it too, and I was like, every time I glanced over, it seemed like Navy had the ball, because they did. 39-19 was the time of possession for Navy, which means time of possession for Memphis was 20-41. But hey, Memphis able to defend that triple option offense. Navy drops to 1-5, while Memphis is now a game above 500. So Memphis is a team that probably won't compete in the American Athletic this year, because you got teams like Houston and Cincinnati and SMU up there. But Memphis could pull an upset against one of those teams there. I don't believe they play Cincinnati, but I do know that they play SMU, and I believe they already played Houston. I don't know, but Memphis, good win there against Navy. And how about South Alabama, right? I didn't think this team was going to be much of anything coming into this year, but wow, South Alabama has looked good, and now they are at their halfway point of the season as they drop Georgia Southern to 2-5. South Alabama now, of course, 4-2. They're halfway through their season. What a day for Jalen Tolbert. I talked about this guy some in the offseason, like he was going to be really good. And well, I know some stuff. He was a really good player coming into this year. And you know what? I think he's an even better player than he has been in previous years. 11 catches for 174 yards and a touchdown for Jalen Tolbert. South Alabama gets the win. All right, there are your Thursday games. Moving on to the Friday games. Marshall playing North Texas. This was a running back show. Yes, Grant Wells made a lot of plays for Marshall, but this was a running back show. Rasheen Ali, who has, I believe, the most touchdowns in FBS this year, responsible for 20 carries, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But the story is on the other side. DeAndre Torrey for North Texas, 20 carries, so same amount of carries, 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. So same amount of carries, same amount of touchdowns, but 70 more yards. That was the individual story in this game, although Grant Wells had a fantastic game for Marshall. But the team story in this game was for North Texas. I've never seen numbers like this. 17 penalties for 161 yards was North Texas. You're not going to win a game like that. Again, this is a North Texas team coming into the year that I said, hey, this can surprise some people. And I think North Texas is a better team than that 1-5 record. but 17 penalties is not going to win you a game. And I don't care who you are. If you commit 17 penalties, odds are probably aren't going to win the game. And that's what happens here. Marshall gets the win. Clemson and Syracuse. Clemson's been a disappointment this year, while Syracuse has been a nice surprise. So Syracuse drops to 4-3. I know I wrote that a little small there. Sorry. While Clemson improves to 4-2, they win 17-14. And again, Clemson in these one possession games. But Sean Tucker, who's been the running back for Syracuse, one of the best running backs Syracuse has had in a long time. 22 carries, 157 yards, but no touchdowns. That was left to Garrett Schrader. Garrett Schrader ended up having a rushing touchdown in this game. And late in the game, I was kind of questioning the quarterback play because Garrett Schrader is by far the best, one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the nation, at least how he's played this year. I love how he's played. But on the sideline, you have Tommy DeVito, who is the better passing quarterback, the more experienced quarterback, and is going to give Syracuse a shot to win this game down the stretch. And they don't play him. I was kind of questioning that. I was kind of thinking, okay, so you put DeVito in here and Syracuse can go down and try to win the game. That's not what happened. So Clemson survives again as Andre Schmidt missed a game-tying 48-yard field goal as I don't believe as time expired, but pretty darn close. Was of course kicker of the year his freshman year, all around in the nation. Misses that very important kick there, and Clemson survives another one. We'll have to see if Clemson can get things going, but that bye week did not help Clemson as much as it should have. All right, San Diego State and San Jose State. This was a really good game, and I was surprised to find out how good a game this was because, well, one team's played pretty well, the other team is not. But a good takeaway from this one, I don't think San Diego State is going to remain undefeated much longer. They still have to play Wyoming, Fresno State, Nevada. Lots of good teams left on their schedule. Air Force, I believe, still on their schedule as well. So lots of good teams that San Diego State still has left to play. But San Jose State did outgain San Diego State in this game by 105 yards, 345 to 240. But in the overtime periods, it was Johnson, the quarterback, the backup quarterback even coming in playing for San Diego State, to Matthews in both overtimes, wide receiver for San Diego State. San Diego State's going to survive in double overtime to remain unbeaten. We'll see how much longer that lasts. Oregon. Travis Dye had a great day in this one, 19 carries, 145 yards, and 1 touchdown. But again, you could just feel like ever since that Ohio State game way back when, Oregon has just seemed to be outplayed, outcoached, out whatever. Oregon does not look the same as they did when they played Ohio State, and it's got to change. But Anthony Brown, rushing touchdown with 4 minutes and 50 seconds left. Cal seemed to control much of the first half, and Anthony Brown, 4 minutes, 50 seconds left, was your final score. But Cal on their final drive was very methodical, and they were driving. It was an 18-play, 73-yard drive. It was a turnover on downs. 4th and goal. They decide to pass it, which I have no idea why you decide to pass it on 4th and goal from the 2. And it's incomplete. And Oregon survives another upset bid. Of course, they lost their first one to Stanford, but they survived this one and improved to 9-1. Or excuse me, not 9-1. 9 is their ranking. Sorry, I read the wrong number. 5-1. There you go. So improves to 5-1. We'll see if Oregon can get things turned around because I think this team can compete for the playoff when they're playing at their best. Okay, time to get into the Saturday games. Review going to go a little bit faster now. Let's go. Ohio and Buffalo. A 99-yard run for the quarterback Rutgers for Ohio, along with 22 carries, 183 yards and 2 touchdowns. Of course, one of them the 95-yard run. He was only 6 for 10, 75 yards passing, but really, really explosive on the ground. And it seemed like Ohio was going to win their second game of the year. But then Dylan McDuffie started to take over. Backup running back for Buffalo was Kevin Marks. Didn't play in this game. 23 carries, 143 yards, and 1 touchdown. Buffalo driving on their final drive. They get inside the Ohio. I believe they got inside the Ohio 10, or inside the Ohio 15 for sure. 26-yard field goal for Alec McNulty as Buffalo comes from behind to win 27-26 as Buffalo improves to 3-4. Nebraska and Minnesota. Nebraska's a confusing team right now. Being a Nebraska fan is some kind of hell. Just I'll say that. And trust me, I would know. Not that I'm a Nebraska fan. I have a lot of friends who are. Again, live in Nebraska, go to college in Nebraska. You play Michigan State really well. You play Oklahoma really well. You play Michigan really well. And then you come out and you play like this. I don't think Nebraska, again, didn't watch the game because I was watching football, but I was keeping my eyes on these scores, and I just went, oh, Nebraska. And then there's a point I was like, oh, okay, Nebraska can come back. Oh, nope, safety. Okay, so Nebraska lost. 30-23 was your final score. Again, guys, I just think Nebraska got outplayed. Bryce Williams, 17 carries, 127 yards, and a touchdown for Minnesota. Again, Trayson Potts is now banged up, but again, once a Minnesota running back leaves, just another one fills in. So Bryce Williams, great day for him from Minnesota. While on the other side, Austin Allen for Nebraska, he had a good individual day, 5 catches, 121 yards, and 1 touchdown. If you guys watch this game, let me know what happened, because when I went to go look at the box score, I'm like, okay, Nebraska's going to have a lot of penalties. No, 3 penalties for only 25 yards for the Cornhuskers. So what happened? Here's what I think happened. Minnesota held onto the ball for longer than Nebraska would have liked. 38 minutes and 1 second of time of possession for Minnesota, which left only 22 minutes for Nebraska to have the ball. And that's not what you want. So Minnesota gets the win. They improve now to 500 as Nebraska now has to win at least 2 games out of Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Iowa to become bowl eligible. And that is not going to be an easy ask. Okay, moving on. Auburn and Arkansas. Wow. You guys would know this if you watch every video on my channel, which, again, for those of you that do, amazing, especially those of you that watch this one and make it through without skipping anything, which is probably far none people. But Auburn, 38-23, final score there. And Arkansas had a lot of missed opportunities and a lot of miscues. A missed field goal, 3 turnover on downs, and then a fumble return for a touchdown. Auburn dominated the second half, especially the fourth quarter, took control of this game. Bo Nix, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, along with 5 carries, 42 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. I thought KJ Jefferson had a good day, 228 yards, 2 touchdowns, along with 18 carries and 66 yards. But again, Arkansas, lots of miscues, 3 turnovers on downs, and if they convert those, who knows what happens to those drives? Probably end up going down and score. I kept Auburn ranked. I will tell you that much. I kept Auburn ranked when no other polls did, and this is why. Because when Auburn plays well, they can play really well. They won the battle in the trenches. I talked about that. Arkansas had a really good rushing offense. Well, Auburn had a really good rushing defense. They won that battle. Defense wins championships. Well, Auburn won't be competing for a championship this year. They are now 5-2. I expect them to get back into the poll, and a good win as now Arkansas has dropped 3 straight. So interesting to see. Sorry, I shake my little setup. Interesting to see what happens with Arkansas moving forward. Texas A&M gets a good win against Missouri, as it was a running back fest for Texas A&M. 20 carries, 168 yards, and a touchdown for Isaiah Spiller, while A-Chain, 16 carries, 124 yards, and 2 touchdowns. As Zach Calzada didn't really have to do much in this game. But again, we saw the Texas A&M where Zach Calzada not throwing the football, and they rely on the running backs. But again, against Missouri, didn't really matter. 5-2 now the record for A&M. They get a good win. Northwestern beats Rutgers, and wow, defense really stepped up in this game for Northwestern. Watching highlights, watching condensed games. Yeah, defense really stepped up here for Northwestern. Rutgers offense was able to drive, but just as soon as they got past their the 50-yard line, Northwestern they stepped up their defense. So now Northwestern improving to 500. Rutgers has dropped their last 4 games. So getting to a bowl game now for Rutgers is going to be a little trickier. We'll see if they can do it. I think this Rutgers team is good enough. It's just about if they can get it done. Okay, one of the biggest games of the week. Oklahoma State and Texas. Can Texas get some momentum back and get a win? And can Oklahoma State remain unbeaten? Only one of those things could have happened. It was Oklahoma State remaining unbeaten. This was one of the afternoon games that I actually did get to watch a little bit. I watched the opening drive for Texas go down and score, and then I went off to the football game. I'm like, okay, so it's going to be a long day for Oklahoma State's defense. And it was in the first half. But in the second half, Oklahoma State and the offense started to get going. Spencer Sanders, again, is not playing horribly well or is not playing terribly great this season, but also isn't playing, well, terrible this season. 178 yards, a touchdown, and an interception on 10 carries, 20 yards, and a touchdown. Casey Thompson on the other end, not a really good day for quarterbacks. 179 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. You know who it was a good day for? Running backs. Jalen Warren for Oklahoma State, 33 carries, 193 yards, no touchdowns though. Bijan Robinson on the other side, 21 carries, 135 yards, and 2 touchdowns. What happened to Texas? Oklahoma State's defense happened to Texas. They had a pick 6 in this game. Only 317 yards allowed for Oklahoma State while allowing 414 on 3rd down. Came up with some huge stops late in this game. And Oklahoma State is going to remain unbeaten. And I like Oklahoma State's chances to remain unbeaten going into Bedlam, the game against Oklahoma. They still have to play Iowa State, but they've already beat Texas. They've already beat Baylor, who are the next 2 teams in line in the Big 12, in my opinion. But when you look at Iowa State's a team that we'll talk about them later, but I think Iowa State is going to make one team Saturday not very fun Saturday. Again, we'll get to that. Cincinnati beat the ever-living crap out of UCF, and Jerome Ford had an excellent day. 20 carries, 189 yards, 4 touchdowns. When you look at Desmond Ritter's stat line, it's not going to impress, but I would argue that Desmond Ridder should probably win the Heisman this year, especially if Cincinnati makes the playoff. That's who my vote is for right now, is Desmond Ridder. He's played phenomenally all year. And now Cincinnati probably going to move up in the rankings. We'll get there. In fact, you can even see it on the board. Spoiler alert, we'll get there. But yeah, Cincinnati playing really, really well. We'll see if it continues. Okay, Tulsa, again, another come from behind win here. They improved to 3-4 after starting, I believe, 0-4. So for Tulsa, hey, they're starting to get their momentum back. I'm not saying this is nowhere near as good of a team as it was last year, but they're starting to get momentum back, right? All right, second column now of games. UConn gets in the win column. Good job, Huskies. They forced 4 Yale turnovers, including one late, and they're going to be able to win that one, get their first win of the year. Michigan State battling Indiana, and the Spartans are going to avoid an upset here as they improved to 7-0 for the first time since, I believe, 2015. You know what happened that year? They made the college football playoff. You can read into that what you will. But 7-0 for the first time in quite a while for the Michigan State Spartans, now in the top 10 on the road against Indiana. This was a dogfight. The Indiana defense played great in this game coming off the bye week. And again, they have Ohio State next week. So we'll see what happens. But of course, Ohio State coming off the bye week this week. So we'll see what happens there. But anyways, back to this game. 2 turnovers forced from the Indiana defense, along with only 241 yards allowed, 5 of 16 allowed on 3rd down. And Michigan State was killing themselves with penalties, 12 penalties for 134 yards. And it makes you say, okay, so yeah, this should be this should have been a win for Indiana, right? Well, Indiana, while they forced 2 turnovers, had 3 turnovers of their own. Jack Tuttle was the starter in this game. 1 fumble. This is not Jack Tuttle's stats. I'm just exclaiming. Jack Tuttle was a starter in this game. But yeah, again, Indiana forcing 3 turnovers in this game. 1 fumble, 1 interception. Well, actually 2 interceptions, and 1 of them went for a pick 6. So, yeah. Michigan State able to survive on the road against Indiana. I think a lot of people are going to be saying right now that Michigan State is the last team out of the teams in the Big Ten West, right? They're like the last team. They're not Big Ten West, Big Ten East, out of Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, and Michigan State, that they're probably going to finish 4th in that division. This game would tell you, yes, no one really got it going. Walker didn't get it going. Thorne didn't get it going. Jalen or Naylor or Reed didn't get it going either. So it's going to be interesting to watch Michigan State from this point on. I think also interesting to watch Indiana from this point on too, because again, they have Ohio State next week. We'll see what happens there in that game. That one's the primetime one on ABC. Should be a lot of fun. Should be a nice atmosphere in Bloomington. See what happens. All right, October happened in this one. Florida beats LSU. And then there's some news that came out today out of this one that kind of shocked me, but also shocked me in a way that I'll explain later. So in terms of this game was back and forth. LSU took an early lead, but Florida, final play of the first half, throws it up, and all LSU had to do was knock it down, and they didn't do it. Anthony Richardson ended up coming in this game for Emory Jones. Jones' stat line looked like this: 161 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Richardson's stat line looked like this: 167 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Or excuse me, Jones should have 2 picks as well. My apologies. Jones, 2 picks. Richardson also 2 picks, but 3 touchdowns, along with 7 carries, 37 yards, and a touchdown for Anthony Richardson. But not the story of the day there. No. Story of the day, Tyrion Davis-Price. Wow, what a day he had. 36 carries, 287 yards, and 3 touchdowns, including 1 late. And that's what helped LSU to a 49-42 win, as LSU coming into this game, talking about this team. Oh, they haven't looked the best. They're not really looking great right now. Yes, they were not looking great. Albeit there are some injury things going on at LSU right now. But again, with all the talent they have, there was no way they should have been 3-3. Now 4-3, they get a win over a top 25 team. They build the momentum going forward. And now for Florida, this is the team that probably should end up around 8-4, because you have Georgia on your schedule still as well. Interesting to watch Florida going forward. But news coming out of this one: there has been an agreement between LSU and Coach O that he will not return as the coach next year, but isn't fired yet. So, right? Confusing. If you don't want to coach there, then just fire him. But Ed O going to stay at LSU for the remainder of the year. And as soon as the offseason hits, LSU will be hunting for a new head coach. Regardless, they get the win in this game. They're back on track. We'll see what happens with LSU moving forward. We'll see what happens with Florida moving forward. I think these are going to be 2 very interesting teams to watch later down the line. All right, Duke and Virginia. Yeah, this one was not close. As you can see there on the board, Virginia improves to 5-2, 48-0. They get the shutout win. Ball State, again, starting to find their offense. They're now a game above 500 with a 38-31 win over Eastern Michigan, who falls to the same record of 4-3. Miami, Ohio gets a win over Akron. Good win there for Miami of Ohio. Troy and Texas State. Troy is going to ride Kamani Bridle. 25 carries, 162 yards, 2 touchdowns for Troy. And Colton Marshall, a linebacker I talked about in the offseason, 18 tackles in this game, 8 of them by himself, as This Troy Trojan defense forces 3 picks out of McBride, including 1 pick six, ended up being the difference on the scoreboard, and a win there for Troy. Good win there. Moving on, UAB able to beat Southern Miss. Good win there for UAB. Again, they're getting back on track. One of the better teams in Conference USA. You expect them to win the game like that. Fresno. Fresno State beats Wyoming. So Wyoming, after starting season 4-0, has now dropped their last 2. Fresno State, on the other hand, this was a game that they definitely should have won by more, but no offense really got going. Jake Haener, not even 100 passing yards in this game. Ronnie Rivers didn't get going, of course, because Haener didn't get going. Jalen Cropper didn't get going either, but Fresno does improve to 5-2 on 5 Wyoming turnovers. 1 fumble, 4 interceptions thrown by the Wyoming quarterback in this game. Set up a lot of short fields for Fresno State, and that is why they're able to go ahead and get the win. Again, offense just really not existent in this game. It was a lot of defense. It's just Fresno. Excuse me. Fresno ended up being the one forcing turnovers, getting the short fields, and that's how 17-0 is your final score there. Pitt against Virginia Tech. I'm telling you guys, this Pitt team might just be the best team in the ACC. Pitt should be ranked in the AP poll. The AP poll, literally as I'm recording this, just came out now. Again, I'm not going to look at it until this, but if Pitt is ranked, good on Pitt. They should be. Kenny Pickett had a fantastic day. Not stat-wise, but at playing-wise, yeah, he had a good day. This is a good Virginia Tech defense. They just couldn't stop Kenny Pickett, couldn't stop Pitt in this game. Pitt went up 28-0, and by that, it was a foregone conclusion. A late touchdown for Virginia Tech just makes it look a little bit more respectable, but Pitt rolling in the ACC. Colorado beats the ever-living crap out of Arizona as the Wildcats remain winless. And now we're starting to get into some of the bigger games, right? Georgia and Kentucky. I came in this one thinking this one was going to be closer than a lot more. No, Georgia defense is still ridiculously good. And the number 1 team in the nation continues to roll. Now 7-0, they beat Kentucky, previously unbeaten. How about Brock Bowers? The freshman tight end has been a revelation for the Georgia offense. 5 catches, 101 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's been magnificent all year for Georgia. Lines up at tight end, plays like a wide receiver. And this Georgia defense, I just said it, is still magnificent. Only 243 yards allowed, 9 for 19 on 3rd down, though, and 2 for 2 on 4th down. So this is the first time all year where the Georgia defense had some holes in it in this game. But again, all in all, really good performance from Georgia, as per usual. For Kentucky, again, they just ran into Georgia, right? I still think Kentucky's a great team. Not going to win the SEC East now because Georgia just seems to roll. Kentucky would need to win out and for Georgia to lose twice, which hard ask, right? And twice in the regular season nonetheless. So for Georgia, probably now clinch the SEC East with the win here. Yeah, if Georgia's not your favorite to win the SEC right now, make them that because they should be. Georgia is rolling, looking really good. Number 1 team in the nation is rolling. There's going to be a new number 2 team in the nation, probably going to end up being Cincinnati. As Cincinnati rolled over UCF, we talked about that, but you wondered how Iowa was going to play without a lead because Purdue jumped out to a 7-0 lead in this game. It was 17-7 at one point as well, and you had to figure, okay, so now we're going to get to see how Iowa plays being down. What have I said? This Iowa team, even after that Penn State win, still needs to find their stride on offense because they struggled in this game. The Purdue defense dominated all game long, led by George Karlaftis. This is the fantastic defensive lineman. And yeah, Purdue really led this game, controlled this game throughout. Iowa only forced one turnover, while Purdue forced 4 interceptions from Spencer Petras, who only had 195 passing yards. While when you look on the other side, Aiden O'Connell got the start in this game over Jack Plummer, 375 yards and 2 touchdowns. What a day for David Bell as well. 11 catches, 240 yards, and a touchdown for David Bell, the former All-American. He played fantastic in this game. Purdue beats the number 2 out of Iowa. And Iowa, again, this defense, really, really good. But this offense, we showed it in this game, not good enough to win a national title. And now you have to think Ohio State, who was on bye this week, is now, again, the top team in the Big Ten. They have to be. They've been playing really well as of late. Penn State had that loss to Iowa. The health of Sean Clifford, not really there. Michigan is coming. But, again, I still feel like Ohio State best team in the Big Ten right now. And Iowa picks up their first loss of the year, so another undefeated goes down. All right, Northern Iowa rides Jay Ducker to 33 carries, 210 yards as the Huskies get the 8-point win. Baylor and BYU, this was another interesting game coming into the week, and BYU has now dropped their second straight, likely drops out of the top 25 poll as well. Jaren Hall, 342 yards with 1 touchdown. That 1 touchdown to Puka Nacua, however you say his last name. I apologize to BYU fans everywhere. 5 catches, 168 yards, and 1 touchdown. But it wasn't enough. Bohannon for Baylor had a pretty good day. 231 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Okay, a blemish there, but the real story in this game was Baylor's Abram Smith. What a game he had. Nowhere near Ty Davis Price levels for LSU, but still, 27 carries, 188 yards, and 3 touchdowns for Smith. A great day for him. And Baylor gets the 14-point win. Only loss now to Oklahoma State, who we just talked about, remains undefeated. So for Baylor, this is a team that, definitely not out of the running in the Big 12 quite yet, although it looks diminished now. So see what happens with the Baylor down the road, but they now improve to 6-1. Western Kentucky continues to play well. Jareth Stearns continues to get all the yards in the world from Bailey Zappi. 13 catches, 221 yards, and a touchdown. Wouldn't be surprised to see Stearns in the top 10 receiving yards at the end of the year. Western Kentucky gets a 23-point win. Western Michigan hangs 64 on a Kent State defense that just couldn't get its footing in this game at all. They kept turning their heads every which way when you watch this game. So 64 points for Western Michigan. They get back on track and now 5-2. Texas Tech beats Kansas. Yep, nothing much really to say there, right? It's Kansas. Texas Tech has looked surprisingly good this year. They are now 5-2, but the back half of their schedule, not very favorable. They got a lot of tough games coming up. We'll see how long they can survive. And again, only 1 win away from bowl eligibility. You'd probably think they should get there with some of the teams in the Big 12. But again, back half of their schedule, it's going to be hard for Texas Tech, but they can definitely get there. 42-45. So yeah, another offensive game in the series between North Carolina and Miami. It just wasn't so one-sided this time. Defense was just not a thing in this game. Trevor Van Dyke for Miami. Of course, De'Aaron King out for the year. 264 yards, a touchdown, but 3 picks. However, Jalen Knighton had a good day. 17 carries, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns, along with 2 catches for 73 yards and another touchdown there. Sam Howell is really disappointed this year. And again, in this game, only 154 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. One of those touchdowns, though, Josh Downs, 11 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. But what Sam Howell and North Carolina did on the ground won them this game. 17 carries, 98 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Sam Howell, while Ty Chandler, the former Tennessee transfer, don't worry, we're going to talk about Tennessee today, too. That game was interesting. 18 carries, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns for Ty Chandler. And North Carolina survives on a defensive play. Shocker, shocked Pikachu face. Shocker for North Carolina, putting together a defensive play late in this game. Pick, and that seals the game. Now, I need to change sides. Yep, sorry, you're going to see my mic stand here. Sorry. That's how it's going to work now with the setup that I have. If there's a way that I can find to get rid of it, we'll do that, but can't right now, no matter how far I pull up. Anyways, sorry, let's continue reviewing football games. Central Michigan beats Toledo in single overtime. Sorry, double overtime was the Friday game. That's now behind me. But no, single overtime here in this game, 26-23. Toledo, again, was supposed to be a team that was supposed to be pretty good this year, and they have not shown that. They've shown it at times this year, but as far as when you look at their entire body of work, haven't shown it. Central Michigan, now a game above 500, while Toledo is now a game below 500. Vanderbilt looked like they were going to win their third game of the year, but nope. Luke Doty ended up getting banged up in this game. So who else? Zeb Nolan comes in. Again, the former North Dakota State quarterback was brought in to be a grad assistant, and while Doty was hurt, while Doty was hurt, they threw him in, and he played well and had to come in to win them this game. 21-20, final drive touchdown with 20-something seconds left. And South Carolina, again, game above 500. Rice got beat hard. UTSA is the team that stays undefeated in this one. 45-0, your final score in that one. Colorado State rides a great performance from Trey McBride, over 100 receiving yards to beat New Mexico. And now we get to another shocker. This one is not like an upset in terms of ranked teams, but it's an upset. ULM, who was abysmal. They were horrible last year. 0-10 last year. Now are 3-3 with a win over Malik Willis and Liberty. Here's why they won. Malik Willis on the ground, 23 carries, 157 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's the best dual threat quarterback that's out there right now, and in terms of the NFL draft as well. But through his first 4 or 5 games, Malik Willis had not thrown a pick. Threw 3 last week, and now throws 3 this week again. So Liberty survived last week, and this week it cost them. A interception at the end of the game for Malik Willis cost them this game. ULM did go down. They scored. They kicked a field goal, but there was still time. There was time for Liberty to go down and win the game. But Willis overthrows his receiver, interception, and Liberty picks up their second loss of the year. So we'll see if Malik Willis can cut down those interceptions, because, again, right now, I think he can be one of the first quarterbacks off the board in April. Just has not played like it the past 2 weeks. I expect to see him get better over the course of this season. Again, Liberty plays Ole Miss later down the line. I believe they play Louisiana as well. So still some tricky games on the schedule for Liberty. Hopefully Malik Willis can improve by then. Alabama, after losing last week, nope. Nick Saban teams after a loss are tremendous. They're outstanding. And same story here in this one. 49-9, no contest. Breece Hall was fantastic for Iowa State in the win over Kansas State. 30 carries, 197 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Led them to a nice win. Utah State and UNLV. If you don't know the name Devin Tompkins, learn the name Devin Tompkins. Because with Logan Bonner as his quarterback, by the way, 298 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Devin Tompkins has been on a tear this year. 12 catches, 180 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Utah State in this game. However, UNLV was up and leading for the majority of the game. Rode Charles Williams, the running back, 27 carries, 221 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And I was like, okay, so UNLV is going to get their first win of the year. No, Noah. 11-yard touchdown run with 35 seconds left, and UNLV throws a pick on their final drive. Utah State survives, improves to 4-2, while UNLV, again, still has not won a game. They dropped to 0-6. NC State rides Devin Leary, 251 yards, 3 touchdowns in this game. Dominant performance by the NC State defense as well. Held Dennis Grossell, Garwo, Sinkfield, Zay Flowers even as well to not a whole lot of yards, not a whole lot of production. Boston College could not get anything going in this game. NC State is still my pick to win the ACC, and they proved it here in this game. 33-7 your final score. NC State continues to roll. Stanford, Washington State. This one back and forth for most of the day, but Max Borghi, who had a pretty solid day for Washington State in this game, a 2-yard touchdown run with 1:30 left. Not enough time for Stanford as they stop Stanford, I believe, on downs, and Washington State gets the win here. Stanford was up for the majority of the fourth quarter. Then, of course, that drive happened. So Washington State, good win for them there. They've pleasantly surprised me this year as well. Wisconsin has surprised me in the bad way, and they outlast Army here in this game. So a good win for Wisconsin. They're back to 500 again. One sec. My clumsy bum dropped my marker. My pointing marker. But no, Wisconsin improves now to 3-3. See what happens for Wisconsin later down the road. Again, they still got some interesting games on the schedule. Still, of course, have to play. Excuse me. Still, of course, have to play Iowa. Also, still has to play Nebraska. So we'll see what happens with Wisconsin here. Should be interesting to watch. Oklahoma kicks TCU. However, Zach Evans did not play in this game for TCU. Max Duggan did. 346 yards and 4 touchdowns. Found Quentin Johnston. You cannot leave Quentin Johnston open. The best, one of the best offensive players for this TCU team, in my opinion, behind Zach Evans. 7 catches, 185 yards, and 3 touchdowns for him. But the storyline here, Caleb Williams gets the start for Oklahoma. 295 yards, 4 touchdowns, 9 carries, so 9 scrambles for 66 yards and a touchdown for Williams. Played fantastic in this game. You have to think he's the starter going forward. He gives such a life to this Oklahoma offense. Spencer Rattler, who knows what happens with Spencer Rattler? Does he transfer? Does Spencer Rattler come back next year in hopes of starting improving draft stock? Because right now, probably not a quarterback you want to be picking up in Spencer Rattler. But Oklahoma, no problems here with TCU. TCU was pesky, though. They wouldn't go away, but Oklahoma is able to pull this one out. Okay, Ole Miss and Tennessee. This one was back and forth, not as offensive as we expected coming into this game. Matt Corral had 30 carries on 195 yards, but 231 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Hendon Hooker, 233 yards passing, 23 carries, 108 yards, and 1 touchdown. But let's talk about this play. So Ole Miss was leading for the most of the game. Tennessee had battled back, and now Tennessee looking like they were on a drive to win. But they were pushed back. It was, I believe, 4th and 24, something like that. This 4th down play caused quite the scene, and I've never seen this live. I've seen it like I've seen it happen. But I've never seen it live, and I've never seen it this bad. Hendon Hooker, a pass to Jacob Warren, was 1 yard short. The ball was kind of tucked into his waist instead of extending the ball out. Tennessee fans were clearly unhappy with that call, but hey, it was the right call. I thought the spot was good. Initially, I was like, he might have got there, but after looking at the replay, the ball was tucked into his waist, and I said, no, that's a great call by the official. Tennessee fans weren't happy about it for whatever reason. I get it. It's frustrating. Tennessee fans probably frustrated. They started pelting the field with water bottles and pizza boxes and all. I've never seen anything like that. And watching it, I'm like, why can't the officials just call the game? Like, call it. Tennessee had all 3 timeouts left. So if they were able to stop Ole Miss, which they ended up doing, by the way, they could use all 3 timeouts and have a shot to win the game. And they almost did. They almost came back and won the game. Alas, did not happen, though. That would have made for quite a storyline. But the Tennessee fans, a golf ball hit Lane Kiffin. A golf ball hit Lane Kiffin. So something has to happen. Discipline has to happen. Kevin Sankey has to put some sort of tax. The SEC has taxes for storming the field, storming the court, whatever, which is stupid, but whatever. This has to be some sort of fine. Eventually the cops just kind of said, screw it, and jumped in the stands and started putting people in cuffs. Good. They cleared out the student section. Like, it was crazy and out of control. I've never seen anything like that ever. This is not a good look for Tennessee fans. And what was otherwise a great scene at Rocky Top, one of the best crowds at Rocky Top in a while. But yeah, this one is not good for Tennessee. Not a good look. You get the loss as well. For Ole Miss, you improve to 5-1. You come out of there, everyone's okay. And the win. So let's go ahead and move on from that. Now, UCLA outplays Washington as they get the 24-17 win. UTEP is now bowl eligible. Good job, UTEP Miners. Jacob Cowing has played terrific. So has Hardison. So have the running. UTEP has played really well this year. 19-3 over a Louisiana Tech team that, hey, is usually pretty feisty. A great win for UTEP. They are now bowl eligible. How about that? I dropped my marker again. What is wrong with me? UTEP now bowl eligible for the first time in a long time. So good job there for UTEP. Another team that's bowl eligible is Air Force. They get the win over Boise State. This was an interesting game to watch for me. Kind of back and forth, but Air Force took control of the game late, able to win this game here. Boise State did recover the onside kick after a field goal that made it a 7-point game. But on the very first play, Bachmeier throws a pick. So Air Force, again, bowl eligible, able to survive, get the win on the road against Boise State. This Boise State team, something feels different, but they've had a lot of close games this year. Arizona State, who I thought, hey, this is the team to beat in the Pac-12. Not anymore. Who knows? Who knows who's the team to beat in the Pac-12 right now, besides Oregon? But especially in the Pac-12 South, a division that just throw it up there now, like flip a 4-sided coin. Like it's anyone's game right now. So the 18th ranked Sun Devils go down. Jane Daniels, I thought had a good day. 237 yards, 2 touchdowns, but Cameron Rising, ever since coming in, has played really well. 247 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Arizona State killed themselves with penalties, 13 of them for 155 yards. The Utes take over in the second half after the first half was largely dominated by the Arizona State Sun Devils. And Utah gets a 14-point win and now seemingly takes control of the Pac-12 South. So that division is going to be a very interesting race to watch. We'll see what happens. And then Nevada, again, when this team is on, they're a lot of fun to watch. Carson Strong, 395 yards, 2 touchdowns. Favorite target today was his tight end, Cole Turner. He's got a lot of targets he can go to. 12 catches for 175 yards. No touchdowns, though. Romeo Dubs did have a touchdown in this game. But there you go. That's all the games. When you look at bye weeks, lots of ranked teams on bye weeks, especially the first 3 right there, Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. 3 important bye weeks there because starting on November 30th, the race for the Big Ten East heats up. You have Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Michigan State. Michigan State's going to be on bye week this week. So the race for the Big Ten East is going to ramp up fast. I still like Ohio State to come out of that division. Call me biased, go for it. But just with the way that they're playing, the Buckeyes are coming. You got to watch out for them. Still some uncertainty with Sean Clifford's health with Michigan. I think the passing game can still use a little bit more work for Michigan State. Again, how are they going to be in a big environment, in a big game? Haven't really had one of those quite to the extent like they're going to have in November this year. Other teams on bye week that are notable, you got Notre Dame, Coastal Carolina, Wake Forest, and SMU, along with some others that you can look out there. After this week, guys, there are 10 undefeated teams left. 10. There are going to be a couple more that go down this year. In fact, I'd probably say next week, you might see one or two go down next week. And then the week after, on October 30th, who knows? You could see a lot go down that week. A lot of interesting games that week. My top 12 video is going to be out tomorrow, but it's not going to be in my dorm room, guys. I am going home, so you're going to see it from my old set where I record my Ohio State fan reaction against Akron. That's going to be the set for that video. As per usual, I'm going to go ahead and duck down here so you can go ahead and look at the board for one last time. I know these videos are long, but if you made it through this video, first of all, congratulations to you. There goes my phone. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you end up making it through these videos, remember to like, comment, subscribe, do all of that fun stuff. As always, remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see all of you guys tomorrow with my top 25. Goodbye.